Namaskar, dear children. Welcome to Rendezvous with Literature by Shobha Arora Chitani. In today's lecture, we are going to study business letters in detail. What are letters? Letter writing is an essential skill. In spite of the prevalence of email and text messages, letters are still one of the most important and popular means of communication. Official correspondence, trade, public representation, complaints and other dealings, transactions and communication with people are still conducted through letters. So we don't have to underestimate the importance of formal letters. Let us take a look at how to write these letters. Now, what are the types of formal letters? Number one, business or official letters. Now, what all comes in this particular category is what we are going to ponder at. Number one, when you make inquiries or you ask for information, replying to inquiries or you give out certain information. So, if I want to inquire about a certain advertisement about, say, some tours and travel services, what will I do? I will write an inquiry letter. If I have to send quotations in response to inquiries, I will write a placing order letter. If I have to make complaints or I have to cancel orders, then also I will have to write a formal letter. If I have to make a request or an appeal to people in authority, then I will write a formal letter. Now, second category is letters to the editors. What do we need to understand when we are writing a letter to the editor? We are giving out suggestions on an issue of public interest. Who is an editor? You need to understand that. Why do we need to write a letter to the editor is what we need to focus on, and what will the editor be able to do with the letters that we write to him. So what do we do in them? Expressing views on an issue already raised in an article, write-up or in a published letter. Now, letters of job applications are also there, which includes your cover letter as well as resume. But this is not a part of class 11 syllabus. This will be studied when you're going to be in class 12th. Letters to principal, school or college authorities. Regarding admission, schools issues like leave for illness, requirement or suitability of courses. Now children, there are certain points that you need to keep in mind. What are they? Let us take a look at them. You need to read the question carefully to understand it properly. Or it is pretty obvious that sometimes we tend to misunderstand the question or we do not follow the demand of the question. So always ensure that you're reading the question carefully so as to know what is to be expected in the content, and what is the category or the kind of letter that you're supposed to write. Second thing is, write down the key points for establishing good content and make sure that the body of the letter is in sync with the main theme. You should not be drifted in your thoughts. That is what it implies. You should be very, very focused and directed towards what has been asked from you. Do not beat around the bush. Answer what has been asked from you and be very, very succinct in your ideas. Now your letter must be coherent and not begin or end abruptly. It's not like you started talking about a problem and you've ended up the letter all of a sudden. No, do not do that. And do not even go very lousily dragging one point and talking about it at length. Be very, very choosy with your words and always adhere to the word limit. Do not end anything or start anything abruptly. There should be a complete structure and flow to your content. Now, avoid using long sentences, avoid writing too much for explaining a single point. I've already told you about it. Now, stick to the word limit, that is 120 to 150 words. Be polite and formal at all times. If you're expecting yourself to write beautifully, you should always ensure that you're writing formally as well. There should be a note of politeness in your write-up. It should not seem rude, because if you're writing it to anyone, that person seems to be an authority, and you cannot tamper with your language when you're speaking to an authority. Strictly avoid short forms or slangs and use refined language is another important that you will always keep in mind before attempting any sort of formal letter. Now, what are the steps, the general steps to write a letter? To write an effective letter, one must follow the correct format and the steps that are given below. First thing that you need to write in the format is the sender's address. We've already understood what all needs to be there. I've given a sample sender's address over here, you can see that the code is clearly given, the house number is clearly given, followed by street or town, and then we see the state and the pin code also being mentioned. Categorically, it should come in 3 lines. Now after that, date will come, and then it will be followed by receiver's designation and address. Now if it's obviously in most of the letters we do write the receiver's designation and address. If we are not mentioning the designation of the person, of the receiver, then it will be very difficult for us to know who we are writing it to or who should it go directly to. So the editor, as you can see, the Times of India, Daryaganj, and then the complete address followed by pin code. Subject is very important part of the letter, because it ensures that the subject, because it ensures that what is it that your letter is going to be about. So it's going to be a crux of the entire letter, and it needs to be highlighted. You're going to underline it, so it will highlight the importance of that particular letter. Now why? We receive so many emails on everyday basis. I'm giving you an example of the normal inbox. Right? We receive so many emails. How do we sift and how do we sort those emails? We only look at the subject line. If we find the subject line relevant to our usage, then we use it. Otherwise, we archive it or we put it into trash. Salutation. Now in salutation, what is it that you're expected to write? You will greet the other person. You will either write sir or madam, or you will use dear sir or madam. Now we'll start with the body of the letter. The body of the letter is a complex part which contains all the information that the writer wants to convey. For this, start with introducing the purpose of writing. Now whatever the kind of letter you're writing, be it inquiry letter, complaint, cancellation, placing order, editorial letter, then in all sorts of letters, what do you need to remember? The introduction. And in the introduction, you need to mention the purpose of writing. Why are you writing this letter? You need to mention it in 3 to 4 lines. Second paragraph will include the cause and effect, and the third paragraph. What is cause and effect, by the way? Cause and effect means what are the reasons for a particular problem. What is it that is happening because of that problem is the effect. So cause and effect. Solutions to the problem being discussed. Then towards the end we will talk about the solutions if you have any suggestions that you have to give, or you will just end it up with a proper conclusion. So 3 parts: introductory paragraph, second paragraph will be the problem, cause and effect of this, and then if you have any possible solution you can give it in the concluding paragraph. Moving on to the next slide, we will end it up. Now remember, whenever you are writing the body of the letter, you will always gap the paragraphs while leaving a line. Always ensure you're writing from the left hand side, indent it to the left margin, indent the content to the left margin, leave a line after every paragraph, and this is what we call paragraph blocking. When you're doing it, it will not just make your content look very categorized, very streamlined, but it will also make your content look very effective. Complimentary clause is the last point. What will you do? It's a courteous way of ending your letter. For this, we write yours sincerely or yours truly. Initially, we used to write yours faithfully, but remember that it has become obsolete now. Okay, so then you will write the name of the person who has written the letter, followed by designation if there is any. This is the format. You can clearly take a look at it. It's a pictorial way of making you understand what is expected from the students. Let us take a look at the next set of letter, that is letter to editor. What is it that you need to write in a letter to editor? These letters give suggestions, create awareness on an issue of public interest or an issue already raised in an article, write-up, published letter. You will always begin with reference to the recent development, issue or event. So how will you start? You will say that this is, to draw the attention of the concerned authorities towards the problem of this and this. So you are writing a letter to the editor so that the editor knows about the problem, or if the problem has already been taken care of, then obviously it needs to be voiced so that the slumbering authorities are woken up from their everlasting sleep, right? And they are able to do something about the problems that is causing problem to people around. You will flesh out details, bring out cause and effect relationship, offer suggestions or solutions, and you will not ask the editor to do anything about it because he's not the authority. He's only a voicing platform. But if he's not going to voice out your grievances, how will you be able to reach out to the person who you need to take action? Now, letter to school or college authorities. In case students are asked to write such letters, what is it that the topic or what is it that the theme could be all about? It could be about admissions. You want to know about admission process. You want to know about school issues. You may also want to know about the requirements or suitability of courses. These are certain examples that you can take a look at. The first one is inquiries and replies regarding admission. Your cousin Aparna Ghosh is just completed a 12th standard and is keen to join a short-term medical transcription course in computer programming. She comes across an advertisement of ET and computer education, Mansarovar Garden, New Delhi. Write a letter on behalf of Aparna to the firm imparting training in computers and inquire about the details such as duration of the course. So they've told you what all things you need to inquire about. It's an inquiry letter. You can see in the first thing that you have written in this letter is the sender's address. And then we have left a line. You can see the little gap that I have left there. It indicates that you have to leave a line. After that you write the date, again you leave a line, then receiver's designation and complete address. Information regarding, now this is the subject, obviously it's an inquiry letter, either you will write it like this, information regarding this, or you will say inquiry regarding so and so, okay? Sir, now this is the salutation, and let's begin with the body of the letter. It says, propose your advertisement in the Statesman dated this regarding a crash course this. I solicit some information. That means you're expecting the other person to respond to the information or the queries that you have in mind. You will also tell him that you've completed your 12th standard from CBSE and you're interested in doing a short-term computer course and you want to seek out the following details. So in the first paragraph, you've talked about the introduction. In the second paragraph, you've fleshed out the details of the inquiries that you want to seek a solution to. And after leaving a line, you will move on to the concluding paragraph, and that is you will be expecting them to revert to your letter at the earliest, and then you will put a complimentary close to it by writing your sincerely name and designation. Take a look at the next question. Now this is a sample of school issues. There is no proper arrangement of clean drinking water in the school of your younger sister. Write a letter to the principal of Summer Spring Girls School, Vinod Nagar, and complaining about this most urgent problem. Your Sarthak or Aradhana living at. Receiver's address is also given. Sender's address can be clearly taken from the question itself, and you can see the subject is also clearly given at the end. Lack of proper arrangement of cleaning water, right? This is the subject. You're writing it to an authority. Madam, during a recent meeting of PTA, I happened to visit your school. Can you see that the language is very, very formal? As the guardian of my younger sister, I was deeply impressed by the standard of cleanliness. I have always insisted on keeping the language not just formal but also colloquial. Ensure you're writing it to the school authorities, and if you're going to start off by pointing out the problems that you're facing or the grievances that you have, they will not be very happy to read your letter. You must always appreciate the fact that they've done so well for your for your ward or for your child that you are extremely happy with the services, but at the same time there are certain things that are also quite disturbing. So one thing, however, irked me most, it is lack of proper arrangement of clean drinking water in the school. Although summer has not yet begun, I found long queues of thirsty students in hunt of the water coolers on the ground floor. I saw some students quenching their thirst from water taps. Can you see the problem has been elaborated in the second paragraph? That he's talking about, person is talking about the problems that students were facing as a whole. It's not the problem that was just being faced by an individual or by the child who she is a guardian of, but it is a problem being faced by everyone altogether, and that it is a basic requirement of students that they need to know about such things, that they need to be helped with such things. You have to leave a line after that, as I've already told you, and look at the concluding part. I suggest that immediate steps should be taken to install boosters to provide a running supply of water, and I hope you will take urgent steps in this regard. How beautifully they have put across their suggestions, and how simple it has become for us to understand what is to be written in such letters. Moving on to the next slide. You can see this is another letter to the authorities, a letter to the principal requesting him to arrange playground facilities from a neighboring school for practice of your team. Pay attention to the content part because the format will remain the same for more or less for all the letters. Now, since it's a student writing to the principal, of course, the complementary clause will also switch from sincerely and truly to obediently, which is to say that you are obviously obediently, respectfully showing your obeisance to the kind authorities. Just take a picture of it, or you can go back and forth and understand what's there in it. This is another letter that you may write to the librarian, another sample along with it. You want them to issue, the librarian to issue a duplicate identity card. So think about the details that you as a person would have written had you lost your identity card, and you would have wanted them to issue another one to you. Now, this is the third category of business letters, that is suitability of courses or requirements. As we had discussed in the beginning itself, you and Munish or Mahima, parent of student of class 10th, write a letter to the principal, Excellent Academy, requesting him to open a career counseling center in the school to help and guide the students in the choice of subjects. So it's a parent writing to the authorities, and they want them to help children out with the courses that are available or the options that may be given. Okay, so this was about writing to the authorities. Moving on to the letter of complaint. If you're writing a letter of complaint, children, remember it does not have to sound too harsh or rude in terms of its content. It has to be very formal and straightforward in its approach. You will talk about the problem in the first introductory line itself. You will obviously elaborate on the details in the next paragraph, and you will seek some redressal, or you will seek some support, refund or exchange of the product or services in the third paragraph. I'll straight away come to the body of the letter. It says, I'm sorry to inform you that the washing machine which I bought from your shop against cash memo. See, it's very important to mention the invoice number, because without which you cannot trace. There are so many customers coming on daily basis. Without the invoice number, how can you trace the person, or how can you go back to the time at which you had purchased this particular product? You also have to mention the date and what was the guarantee period that came along with it. You have already mentioned it in the first line. Now the machine makes an unbearable noise. This is the problem that you're facing. So what are the problems that you are facing, and what is it that you can do about them? In the concluding paragraph, all these are causing great inconvenience and I feel cheated. I therefore request you to remove the fault if it is minor or replace it. So you will either seek some sort of, you will either seek replacement or you will seek some solution to it or you will ask for a refund if it is possible within that warranty period. And your quick action will be highly appreciated. This is how you will go about it. There is nothing that you have to elaborate on. Very terse, compact and succinct letter talking about the problems only to the extent of making it clear to the person who is reading it. This is about placing an order. How will you place an order? Just how you place an order. You may see that in one, in some of the reference books over here, right after the date, invoice number is also added or reference number is added. So you may add it over here. Otherwise, you can keep the format as it is. Subject has to be underlined. Don't forget that. This is how you will make, okay, so in the previous slide you have seen this one. This is the first paragraph and you've just talked about the things that you are or the source from where you had come across their advertisement. Suppose you had come across their advertisement in the newspaper, so you will say that this is with reference to your advertisement about this, dated this, and you would be delighted to know that we have shortlisted it to place an order, to place a bulk order for these many items, right? Or you will say that this is with respect to a meeting that was held with your executive or with your manager, and how we have decided to shortlist your catalog, and we are going to go about it. Second paragraph, you will make a table like this. You can extend the number of columns that you want to, flesh out the details in, but these are the main ones that you need to be there. You can also add a column at the end which says total. This is the concluding paragraph. All the items should be in good condition, well bound and packed properly. The items must be delivered. Now third paragraph, the concluding paragraph, is the most crucial one, because here you will completely talk about the terms and conditions. You will talk about the problems, you will talk about the date of delivery, the last date of delivery that you expect the products by. You will also talk about the institutional discount that you're expecting. You will talk about the repercussions of sending out defective goods, or probably the terms and conditions that you have in mind, and any other detail that you deem appropriate, right? And then obviously end it up with a beautiful, sweet, complimentary close. We do expect the same delivery this time as well. Kindly offer us a suitable discount as has been the practice all these years. Yours sincerely, name and designation of the person who is writing this letter. So children, this was it. I hope all the letters were taken care of and you have been able to understand each and every nuance that has been explained through this beautiful presentation. I'll appreciate if you will pour in your comments in the chat box if you have any doubt, and do let me know about them. I will address them as and when it is convenient for me. Thank you.